Greetings and salvations. I'm Umfaf Neverborn, The-Abyss-That-Slumbers, and I am contacting you from my subterranean lair. Yes, it appears that I have recovered from I'm going to call it by a code word now. We're going to call it lung herpes because if we use its actual name, apparently YouTube demonetizes everything now. If you're here about lung herpes, then you're in the right place. At any rate, I've retreated to my coof-proof bunker deep within an abandoned military base inside a mountain on an island off the west coast of Canada. As you can see by the background picture there. That's my broadcast tower. If any of you want to come join me, that's fine. I need somebody to go around and trim the steam pipes. They've been growing wild and cancerous ever since, well, the incident. Nobody's been down here in quite a while, but I'll give you a tour sometime. But right now, let's get back to the topic at hand, which is, of course, lung herpes. Gonna have some fun with this. By the way, need a code word for you guys to get inside the base, so I think you're gonna just say, you guys, when you get up to the main door, just say you're, with the Woo Flu crew, and that'll be good enough for me, okay? At any rate. First of all, before we get any further, I've got to sell you something. And we're back. Okay, back down to the normal dissertation of whatever the hell's been going on the past week. I hope to get to more videos out later, but right now, unfortunately, work's been pretty brutal for me. And that's kind of why I think I'm going to have to permanently come down to my coof-proof bunker here. But we're moving supplies down as we speak. I'll show those off sometime. Got oxygen tanks, the whole 9 yards. Any rate. Well, let's see here. What's been going on? Well, nobody gave a crap up until the point where the stock market started to go into free fall. Ooh, yeah, that kind of got some people's attention, and even to the point where we had to have Donald Trump come out and say, everything's tremendous, everything's fine. Look, I got these people here, they're tremendous, they're medical personnel, they know stuff, and I'm going to put Mike Pence in charge of this, who had to look like he was a soldier who was about to have to jump on a live hand grenade to save the rest of his platoon. Oh my God, I can't believe that Donald Trump's setting up Mike Pence for this fall. But hey, the guy kind of looks like he's kind of a martyr type, so I'm sure he'll enjoy it. Oh, by the way, wanted to mention something. I don't actually have 186 hit points. I just wear the t-shirt to scare off the literate monsters that wander around down here. At any rate, immediately after this little speech of his, we get that classic moment where they announce that there is a patient found in Northern California where they confirm he has the virus. They have no idea how he got it. Yep, that's right. You got a guy who didn't visit China, didn't leave the country, doesn't know anybody who left the country, and didn't contact anybody who was infected. That means there's at least one person out there who they have no clue as to who they are, where they are, what they're doing, or who they're infecting. And if you want me to do the math here for you, considering that the RO rate has been estimated to be as high as 6.6 in some places on the planet, that means that in about 25 days, that one guy can turn into 1,000 cases. 25 days after that, it's 1 million cases. 25 days after that, it's 1 billion cases. Pretty much. You're looking at 2-3 months until, let's go 4 months until you have the entire planet. Assuming that we go unimpeded, that people don't work together, that we all don't come together as a team, and that we fortify our borders and start quarantine procedures and embrace those 2 pillars of conquering a pandemic, isolation and quarantine. It should come as no surprise to you that that is not going to happen. Apparently, if you know Elizabeth Warren, she was asked the question, what would you do about the coronavirus? And what was her response? Well, that she's going to take away money from the wall program, and she's going to use the money to fight the virus. I don't know if anybody explained this to that lady. I'm going to use a kind term here. Lady. that if you tear down walls and allow unfettered immigration, that is the exact opposite of quarantine. How stupid a nation are we? That we have a candidate running for presidency state, I'm going to make our borders more porous in order to stop the virus from coming into our country. The Democrats look like idiots. And Trump looks like an idiot because he said, oh, you're going to be all safe. Everything's going to be fine. You're going to have no problems. No problems at all. Except that we have the start of an outbreak less than 24 hours after he made his little speech to the United States. So, we have some interesting news. They've done some studies. I don't know who decided to study this, but we have detected that the virus does emanate in your farts. I thought that was a joke, but apparently it's true. And the virus can emanate up to 200 meters, 600 feet, give or take, from the person farting. Yeah. Then they're going to start shipping people from one part of America to another, and they're doing the same thing. They're shipping infected people around in South Korea, I heard from a friend of mine. And I would like to point out that unless you're shipping these people in an airtight box, anybody passing within 200 meters of these vehicles might get the virus. And you're going to drive them down Main Street. I'm sorry. I really, truly am. I wish that there was a way to take care of this that was more humane. But right now, unfortunately, we don't really have any cures. We barely have treatments. And you want to ship these people all over the place, inadvertently shedding viruses everywhere. Unless they're in an air-proof, sealed box, it's not going to work. I don't care if you put a mask over their face, unless you're putting a mask over their butt too, it's not going to do jack. Any gas escapes from a contaminated individual, it's just going to go everywhere. That's just how it works. And if you check the news, what are they saying? Oh, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. So let's address that it's not that bad thing. I want you to take some dice. Normal 6-sided dice. I'd like you to get 6 of them. Okay? Now this isn't quite accurate, this is a little off, but it's close enough for demonstration purposes. Let's say you catch the flu. Take 4 of those dice. Roll them. Okay? If they all come up ones, you die. However, you can then go to the hospital. If you catch the flu, you've got 4 ones, and you go to the hospital. You get to roll 2 more dice. If those both come up ones, you're dead. Alright? So if you can get proper medical treatment, some nations you only get 1 die, but in America you get 2. You have to roll 6 ones to die. That's a huge number. Alright? Very unlikely for you to die from the flu. The reason why there is 500,000 on average dead per year on the planet is so many people catch it. For every person who dies, there's about 999 people who caught it and didn't die. Billion, all right? Billion people catch the flu every year. About. But it's a rough estimate. They don't keep track. They just guess. And by the way, when they say 500,000 people die, what they mean is 500,000 people die from flu-related issues. The actual number of people who the flu kills is about, maybe 50,000. See, if you have a complication and get the flu killed you, but really the main complication, it was a tag team effort. There are very few people the flu flat out kills. This virus Okay? You catch it, pick up 1 die. And roll it. If you get a 1, you die. However, you can go to the hospital. And if you go to the hospital, you get to roll 1 more die. That means if you catch this virus and you get hospital care, even if you roll snake eyes, you're dead. Okay? Now it's not quite, 2 point whatever, 2.7, 2.8% kill rate, but it's close enough. Might be 1, might be 0.9, might be 5. Hell, if you're in Iran now, you got a 10% chance of dying with medical care. That's nuts. That's insane. But I've seen how they're handling medical procedures there, and they're not even using masks and gloves. So, is it a unique strain, as some people have thought about? Or is it just they're incompetent? Not to mention the fact their spiritual leaders are saying, everybody come to the city where the outbreak has happened, which is Qom or Quam or Qom, whatever it's pronounced. Come on, use Q correctly, please. But whatever that town is, they have holy shrines with healing properties. Yes, healing properties. So go in and get blessed, and you will be cured from the virus. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah. So, sorry to crap on your religion, but I can tell you right now, that whole going to a holy shrine to get healed doesn't work. For you guys. I'm, being the Eldritch God, of course, do heal when you guys visit there and I eat your souls. But, hey, By the way, in case you're wondering why I look human, I'm just wearing a meat suit, My non-Euclidean biology doesn't really work very well in your dimension. Just mention that as a side note here. And I really hate this virus because I was planning the Great Culling next year, and if you guys all drop dead, who am I going to call? I mean, come on now. But let's continue on here. Where were we? Death farts. Oh, by the way, that whole ducks being deployed thing was not true. Everybody got suckered. I thought it was true. It sounded crazy enough to be true, but apparently it's not. The locusts are real. There really are the locusts. The locusts are coming to China. They're just not deploying any ducks. And the locusts probably won't get too far. We hope. China hopes. Remember that crazy cult? I believe I mentioned it last video here. The people all deliberately infected themselves. I don't know if I mentioned it. Well, as it turns out, they have about 25 churches all over the planet. 19 out of the 25 locations in the very cities have had lung herpes outbreaks. So, I'm not saying, but where there's smoke, there's a good chance you have a cult of people deliberately spreading the virus and infecting everybody. The old saying. Supposedly, the flu season is getting worse. Yet the actual number of confirmed flu cases is going down. At least in my area. So my question is how can symptoms increase, yet cases of flu decrease? Did you know that up until recently, the U.S. government hadn't even conducted over 1,000 tests in the past couple of months? Italy's over 20,000 at this point? Supposedly, there's no outbreak in America. Oh, by the way, it's not a pandemic. We've got it on multiple continents, but we haven't quite got enough people dead yet to be considered a pandemic, apparently. So, World Health Organization is putting off on the whole, declaring it, you're fucked for a couple more days because reasons. Me personally, I'd be along the lines of, hey, let's, declare it a pandemic before it becomes a pandemic so we can head off it becoming a pandemic. Wouldn't it be better to take care of the pandemic before it happens, not afterwards? I mean, they are saying it's inevitable. So if it's inevitable, if we are going to get a pandemic, let's stop it now. But we can't do that. Because if they say the word pandemic, and by the way, for those people out there saying it has to meet the definition, legally speaking, there's no definition. Oh yes, there's a definition in Wikipedia. There's a definition in the dictionary, but there's no legal definition other than the World Health Organization declares it a pandemic. Once that happens, there's a whole bunch of insurance companies that have things called Act of God clauses. And if you didn't buy Act of God insurance, they don't cover you anymore. And so I can assure you there's a lot of businesses, a lot of transportation companies who don't want to get sued, who, the moment their insurance no longer covers them, will be greatly restricting a lot of stuff. Every industry will be affected if the World Health Organization says this is a pandemic. So, they're holding off because it's going to cause massive financial disruptions. I kind of get it. But the problem is that they're ignoring the science. You see, if they were going by statistical history, this virus is going to burn itself out. It shouldn't have lasted this long, gotten this big. There should have been, some sort of asymptomatic variant inoculating people by now. That's usually what happens. Coronaviruses are not very stable viruses, except this one is exceedingly mutation-free. Which we just got confirmation. I've been saying it for months because I've been pointing at it and going, see, ORF10. I may have said OCF10 in the past. It's ORF, sorry. Slip of the tongue there. It's ORF10 protein. That makes a stable RNA virus. Period. End of statement. You stick that on any virus, it gets stable. It's what it does. It's kind of its thing. And yet, they are only just now figuring out, oh my god, this virus doesn't mutate much. My god, it might spread all over the planet. Thanks for the update. We appreciate it. Why am I some schmuck with a video camera figuring out more than all of the, medical personnel over at WHO right now? I mean, I'm not an idiot. I actually have a couple of brain cells to rub together here. Got perfect score in SATs. I'm kind of a smart guy, but, that's no excuse. That's your job. I'm doing this for, shits and giggles. I just find it fascinating. I'm utterly enraptured with this whole event, and I don't know, I guess I just want to watch the world burn. I guess there's a lot of people who want to watch the world burn. I mean, I don't want it to burn, but I definitely like to watch. It's fascinating to watch people do stupid things and cause their own demise. At any rate, in case you haven't been paying attention, we're starting to get shelves empty here in America. Mostly on the West Coast right now, but I assure you it's going to spread. We've got over a mile-long line. It was over 1 mile in length. Or maybe it was a kilometer. It may have been a kilometer. I think they do metric over in South Korea, right? It may have been a kilometer long line of people waiting to buy masks. So you have a line of people without masks, because they're going to go buy them, lining up to get masks to protect them from hanging out in crowds when they're in a big, long crowd. Regardless of Trump trying to do his best to fix everything and say, don't worry about it, people immediately panicked. Stock market dropped even more. We've got a total of $5 trillion wiped out in world markets overall. That's 5 with the T. Although, to be honest here, that's not a big deal. I know you might be saying, oh my god, that's a lot of money. Well, it's a lot of money, but actual wealth wasn't wiped out. Only virtual wealth. I used to work for a bank, and you'd be surprised how easy it is to make imaginary money. Yeah, I kind of, legally, Legally, I made money that existed for only 59 days before it vanished. The weird loophole in the re-age laws is put out by the federal government. Actual value, actual material goods and whatnot is how you should probably actually rate the wealth of a company. And a lot of companies have been overinflated, so this sort of correction I'm not too concerned about. Companies are not dropping below their real value, their actual dollar value. So that being the case, $5 trillion correction for the entire planet is not that big of a deal. Although trying to blame it on Trump's kind of insane. I don't know what he would have done to stop it. And unfortunately, the only thing that you could have probably done was to completely turtle up the United States of America. And I don't know how well that would have flown, because it might have actually worked. If everybody turtled up and everybody closed their borders and everybody stopped for 2 months, then there wouldn't be an outbreak. And then everybody would go, oh, that wasn't a big deal. The only way people are going to consider this a big deal is when you start seeing people dying around you. And let me assure you, statistically speaking, you're going to know somebody who's at least going to have to go to the hospital with this. And out of those people who go to the hospital, about 1 in 6 are going to wind up dead. So there's a good chance either you or someone you know is going to have somebody they know dead. In America, we haven't had great tragedy for a long time. Most people that you know have died from diseases. Terrible diseases, but usually diseases. Or old age. Or something that they self-inflicted. Or, something unexpected like car crash. Dying choking on your own bodily fluids, well, that's a whole other ball of wax. That tends to cause an entirely different reaction in people. They tend to take that a bit more seriously. And then, considering most of these people when they die are not going to be allowed standard burials, but instead are going to be fed into a furnace to be burned because we cannot take the chance of their virus getting out through contaminated bio-waste, which is what a corpse is. People aren't going to be so happy when they can't bury grandma. I don't think people are really in the right mindset for this. Somebody said, hey, can you put out a positive video? Can you try to be somewhat more upbeat about the lung virus, the lung herpes? All right. Here's the upbeat. Chances are there's going to be a lot of panic. There's going to be a lot of disruption. Nations that can adjust to this, democracies. America, other places with strong, internal economy, that sort of thing. Nationalism, so people look out for each other. Those places will actually retain cohesion and will probably get through this in about 2 years, relatively unscathed. Probably in about 3 or 4 years, not only will we be back where we were, but you're going to find out the economy's better than ever. Mostly because, not to be cold, you're going to see a lot of unproductive members of society perishing because of this. And by unproductive, I mean people who have already retired. That means we're going to have to pay less money for their pension. A lot of their resources are going to be liquidated and given to their descendants. There's going to be quite a bit of cash flow to people of the younger generation, and they're going to be able to spend that money. And there's going to be some, relief to governments who have promised way too much in pensions. What better way to fix Medicare and Medicaid than to kill everybody over 65? Humanity overall will come out of this better. Countries that are pretty unstable, that are built on fear and terror and ignorance, well, those countries are probably going to implode. Looking at you, China. You might pull through this. Venezuela? No. Cuba? Although I will say I'm rooting for North Korea. Kim Jong-un, or Il, or whatever his name is, whoever it is in charge this week, did a good job. He turtled up immediately. And if you have the virus and are caught walking around outside of quarantine, they shoot you. Literally, they shoot you. They kill you dead. So let me assure you, nobody breaches quarantine in that country. People are saying that probably North Korea's got the virus running rampant. I don't think so. I don't. I think he did what he had to do. I don't think it's good. I think his country is downright evil. I think that the way they treat their people is wrong. However, given the circumstances of what happened when the virus first arrived, his choices were limited and he picked the best one. Okay? He's doing right with the hand that he has. I wish he had a different hand. I wish he had a different attitude. But at the point that this virus broke out, he did the only thing that really he could. And I think that's the problem. A lot of other nations are not doing the obvious choice that will fix it, which is shut all the borders, stop all movement, have everybody hunker down for the next 2 months, test frequently, and clean up the bodies. In the long run, that sort of thing will save more lives than it'll cost. The longer we pussyfoot around, the longer we wait our time, the more bodies are going to pile up. And unfortunately, that's the choice we've made. It's a little too late to try to put the genie back in the bottle now. As you can hear, I'm not coughing nearly as much. I'm drinking water because my mouth's dry from talking. I'm pretty much sure I'm over whatever I had. I'm pretty sure it was it. Something I want to talk about, the lung herpes, at least my experience with it. There's a dry cough. You get redness in the back of your throat. And then I've had a couple of clients that have had this weird cough with no snot and flu-like symptoms that don't go away. I've been checking their body temperature, and they're actually below baseline. I'm beginning to wonder if when you first catch this, your body temperature actually drops a degree or two. So if you catch this, you feel hot, but every time you check your temperature, you're going, hey, why am I at 96.2? That's a bad sign. But not a fatal sign. It's a sign you have the disease. What you then need to worry about is that if it suddenly shoots up to over 100. Because I think that's what happens. I think it stays pretty low, and then abruptly something happens and you go, whoop, shh, shh. So, I never got over 99. I only had one day where I was kind of high. Then it went away. Then it kind of came back for a while, then it went away. And now I'm at a went away level. Maybe it'll come back again. I don't think so. I don't think I got reinfected. In fact, the growing consensus is that this thing doesn't reinfect you. I know Tim Pool says, oh my God, somebody got reinfected. No, they didn't. They just weren't over it. That's the problem with this virus. It lasts weeks. Okay, it's been it's been over a month since I was initially infected. If I were to pin it down, I would say it was January 25th, 28th, somewhere in that area. So it's been more than 4 weeks for me. And it's only just now feeling like I'm not crap. So, if I did have it, and the clients who I am dealing with do have it, symptoms are dry cough that never goes anywhere, so redness in the back of your throat, extreme fatigue, like you want to sleep forever, and your initial body temperature seems to drop a degree or two. And as long as it stays at that, you're fine. If it spikes up to over 100, go to the hospital immediately. Any rate, I'm thinking of doing another video tomorrow. If I can find the time where I want to sit down and just go through, because if you get a chance, go over to what is it, Roy Labs Stats. That's ROYLAB space STATS, I believe. He's got a great channel for running this, and they've got this chat going on that's just nonstop. It's like 4,000 people talking at once. Pretty interesting. And I'm thinking of going through that list and picking out all the truly stupid statements from people and correcting them, because I've seen some stupid claims. I'm going to address a few right now here real quick. This is not weaponized. It isn't. Period. End of statement. I've explained this before. I don't want to go through it all again, but trust me, the RNA does not pan that out. This is an experiment. We know China said, okay, maybe one guy experimenting with this virus may have been peed on by a bat. Okay, we know it came from a lab in China. I don't think it was weaponized, though. I think he was just experimenting with it. Maybe they were moving towards weaponizing it. But it wasn't weaponized at this stage. This was not deliberately released. If it was deliberately released, they would have done a much better job. They certainly would have nuked themselves. This isn't about population control, because I can tell you right now, despite all its many factors of going after the elderly and possible sterility and all that other crap, it's a sucky way to do it. Okay? I would never have done it if I was evil, because it's so hard to control. And it's obviously nuking China far more than it is nuking anybody else. So it's not up by the Bilderbergs. It's not being controlled by, what's his name? He invented computers and shit. I don't know. But you see all these things that is done by the CIA. This is an attack by the United States of America against Iran. Why did we start in China if we were going after Iran? Trust me, it's not an attack. It's not a weaponized virus. And it's certainly not a plan to depopulate the planet, because in the end, it's not going to do a good job. Yeah, it's going to cause some disruptions, but overall, not really. Barely going to be a hiccup. Even if it took out 5% of the planet population, we'd fix that in a year. Because the minute you have a disaster like that, it encourages people who are sad to have more sex, and more sex leads to more children. You wanted apathy if you want people to slowly die out. You don't want to get people riled up, and that's what this virus is doing. It's getting people excited. After all major tragedies, populations always shoot up. So, if this was about population control, they're idiots. This is the dumbest thing you could have done. As for the whole 5G thing, no. Okay, 5G wasn't in all the locations. And I've seen somebody who claimed, oh my god, the 5G's in all of these villages. And no, it's not. I looked it up myself. Okay? 5G does not cause flu-like symptoms. Radio waves are not killing people, because if it was, you wouldn't get over it. Okay? Do you understand what sort of worldwide conspiracy there'd have to be in order for everybody to lie about the test kits having viruses? Okay? It has nothing to do with 5G. It isn't a conspiracy to wipe everybody out. But there is something that's going to cause huge havoc in Europe, and I saved this one for last. Turkey has long been holding back all the immigrants that have wanted to get from the Middle East into Europe. And Turkey has been having some problems with Russia, and the rest of NATO isn't backing up Turkey. So Turkey finally said, fuck you, EU. And they went to all of those migrants and said, you know what? We're not going to let you through this gate back here. See that gate? We're not going to let you through it. But nobody's looking in that direction, and nobody's looking in that direction. So if you want to walk about a quarter of a mile either way and go through the woods, we're not going to stop ya. So as we speak, thousands and thousands of economic migrants, I'm not going to call them refugees, they're not, they're economic migrants, are flooding into Europe. I hear Greece is doing their best to stop this, but it's going to get around it. The moment that Turkey said we're not holding these people back anymore, we're not going to feed them or clothe them or give them rooms anymore. And if you thought there was any chance of containing this virus, millions of people who are effectively homeless, looking for jobs and to, start living off public welfare, let me assure you, that is a recipe for disaster. Anybody who says this is going to get better soon is dead wrong. We have another 16 months of this shit. Easily 16 months. It survives up to 9 days on surfaces in heat. It's going to spread. It's going to get around. It might become seasonal. I'm happy to hear that it didn't mutate in Iran. I'm happy to hear that it doesn't mutate much at all. But I already knew all that. As I already worked out the math, as soon as we reach about 500 million people, 250 million people, we'll have a substantial enough population for it to probably start to mutate at least a bit. Usually mutations mean it goes downhill, but who knows? Who knows? We're in entirely uncharted territory here. This virus is brand new. When they said it was novel, it's novel. Okay? Lung herpes, it is not good. But, as I said, in about 2 years this will be done. It'll be fully inoculated at least by then. It being not mutating, that's good. And then about a year or two after that, you're going to see a huge rebound. You're going to see a lot of people having families because they're going to be happy to be alive. And you're going to see a lot of money flowing around because that's what causes economic growth, is the movement of money. And, well, all those old people, when they die, that frees up money. I mean, it's cold, it's heartless, but it's accurate. So, at any rate, I'm going to try and do another video tomorrow. It's been real, and it's been fun. I hope it's been real fun for you. I'm pretty sure it's not fun for about 3,000 people who have recently died. Eldritch, out.
Короче, понеслась моча по трубу. Начался противогаз, все люди смотрят на нас. Полоски в ритм бас, даст рока Gask Mask. Shake and making a fuss, всегда все смотрят на нас. Полоски в ритм бас, даст рока Gask Mask.